Today, in this edition of Graco Garage, we will be looking at how to replace the flat wiper seal on your SaniForce 2.0 SDU, or Sanitary Drum Unloader. As we begin, it's important to note to use the appropriate lubricant, thread locker, and torque specs to make sure that you maintain the nuts and bolts in the appropriate way. As you can see here, we are just disconnecting the flat plate with the tri-clamp connections and the hose connections to ensure that we can remove the flat plate from the workspace. We always want to make sure with these flat plates that we go through and clear out the air valve assembly, which means you have to remove it, the ball and the stainless steel ball. Using a 5/8 inch socket, you want to go through and start loosening up all of the bolts that are on the wiper seal. There are quite a few here, and the idea behind the bolts is to have a good strong connection for the wiper so you don't have a lot of blow by as the inductor plate or flat wiper plate is moving into the material that you're pumping. We go through and you loosen them up there and then work them off in a nice fashion. Once we've done that, we want to make sure that we remove the seal retaining ring, and then we want to pull the seal off as well. It's very important as you go through and remove the seal, you try to pull it off from both sides or as many sides as possible so that you don't scratch the inside eyelets of the seal. Once it's cleaned, we want to make sure we go through and look at replacing that wiper seal. What we want to do in that case or in that situation is make sure we use some good lubricant, and then we want to do the reverse process. So you want to hit it on both sides, okay, as we're going around the ring to make sure that it doesn't damage. Replace that retaining ring. And then as we go through, we want to replace the seal nuts in a star pattern, which you can see or find in your manual. And with that, it's important to also know there are torque specs associated with this. So if you have any questions, it's always good to just refer to the manual and kind of go through. One nice thing about doing it in the star pattern is you're able to start it with the one that's easiest to get on. Sometimes the retaining seal doesn't want to go on extremely easily, and this helps you get there. And as you go through, you kind of hand tighten them, and then go through and then torque them down with the appropriate torque specs. This does a really good job of gradually just pulling that ring together and making sure that everything is cinched up in a nice, strong fashion so that wiper does a very good job of wiping the sides without deflecting too much. And then once you've completed that, now you can go through and replace that wiper plate. Kind of guide it, put it in place. Remember, always have those gaskets all ready to go so you don't forget. And go through and get your tri-clamps back on there and do your hose connections to get the SDU ready for operation.